Blessings, welcome to the Law of One, conscious channeling of LL Research. Today's question, QO, can you share some teach learnings with us on the value of innocence and remembering what it is to look at the world through the eyes of a child? I am QO and am with this instrument at this time. We greet you all in love and in light and in the unity of the one infinite creator. We thank you for inviting us to your group this evening. It is a great pleasure and an honor to join this circle once again as old friends reuniting for the grand journey back into unity with the one creator. Your question this evening is one which touches upon the very basic nature of each entity within your third density illusion as being much like the child, the newborn infant that enters into your illusion with a kind of innocence that is unmatched at any other time during its incarnation. This innocence is a quality which is quite necessary for the newborn infant, for it has begun a long journey from a very basic place of perception of the world around it, still being much as it feels itself to be, and that is connected to every other portion of the world it sees. The newborn infant begins an exploration that takes it into experience that informs it in a more unitive way that it is indeed that from which it comes, the great cosmos of consciousness, of love. And here it is within the third density illusion, beginning to grow in experience and in understanding, so that it begins to mature in its thinking and in its acting. That allows it to become individualized in a sense that it is aware that there is a world around it to be explored, that more and more seems to be different in some degree from it, and how it perceives itself. In this process of maturation, it is easy to become so engrossed with learning the skills of a third density entity to speak, to stand, to walk, and to engage in discourse and in a kind of blending of experience with those about it. It eventually is more the third density entity partaking in the world of seeming separation, so that it may pursue its individual path, which it has programmed from before its birth into this world. This program has laid out before the innocent infant a path which will hopefully find it able to utilize its individual qualities of seeking more and more experience in a manner which allows it to grow in what you would call understanding of the purpose of a life pattern. At some point within this maturing process, the infant becomes so aware of its unique qualities that it seems more and more seeming separation between it and others, as it identifies others as being unique unto themselves, as it feels unique unto itself. It is at this point that it is most helpful for a conscious seeker of truth to remember the innocence of its childhood, the ability to identify with others around it in a manner which gives credence to the heart of love, that the infant felt in its own being to begin its incarnation, and that this heart of love is also present in all other entities about it. As this process of growth and seeking of that which you call the truth progresses for the seeker, it is well advised to continue to look upon the world about it as an expanding version of its own beingness, which has the capacity to inform it of more and more aspects of itself, of a self which also seems to be embedded within the being of both the infant, the young child, the young adult, and the conscious seeker of truth. This concept of the self, or the consciousness of love, being that which is the basic quality of such an innocent perception, is that path which will lead the conscious seeker of the truth to the conclusion that the unfed conscious mind that began the incarnation is that expansion of the consciousness of love of the one infinite creator that exists within the heart of each innocent infant and continues to exist within the heart of the conscious seeker of truth, which sees such love as being the primary quality of all experience and of all the creation. This quality of love and the unity of the Creator then becomes more and more evident in the mind, the body, and the spirit of the innocent creature of original thought. That is, the one Creator existing within each portion of the one creation, and every entity therein residing. We presented this instrument with this quick thought experiment, with this quick thought experiment as a means of perhaps showing or expressing the beauty and, dare we say, fun aspect that is the childlike view that one may associate with this term innocence. To imbue this term, which you have titled innocence, we must first express that innocence has no value, judgment, or connotation associated with it. We realize in your density on this planet, the word innocence can seem to mean one side of a two-sided coin. The good, you may call it, side of the coin on which the other side there is bad. We remind all that there is no inherently good or bad bits to this creation, for it was all created with love. We merely intend to express that innocence is but a hue or flavor of this creation, a specific avenue for experiencing this illusion. Innocence can be seen as the ability to witness the movement. Innocence can be seen as the ability to witness the moment as it stands on its own, without judgment. To imbue this innocence would be to fully accept, to fully witness, and to refrain from assigning value judgments. To turn off the brain, for lack of better phrasing, and simply open the heart. Think of the way a child witnesses something for the first time. Perhaps there is fear, but there is curiosity, there is wonder, there is love. There is desire to welcome and know the experience better, to understand it for what it is. That is the energy behind the state of innocence. To be able to detach the self from the ego, from the identity, from the boundaries which separate self from the rest of creation. Be that social constructs, mental constructs, even things as simple as your skin, your body, your environment. Simply opening the eyes, opening the heart, welcoming all the stimulus in and filling the soul, letting that stimulus pass through the self and bathe it in light and in love on its way in. We understand that this density and this planet are often difficult playgrounds for the entity to practice finding its way back to its core element of innocence. There seems to always be distraction, always information or emotion that can cloud the view, if you will. Create blockages within the self so that the ability to freely accept and love becomes more difficult or impossible, or seemingly impossible, we should say. There are unknowns that the self would like to control or be able to forecast. And those pieces of the experience, those expectations, the desires to forecast or control these pieces are restrictive. They may allow the self the ability to make better sense of its experience in some ways. However, those ways are inherently separating. They make sense of a creation which has a more hard to define structure. These pieces try to create false structures, or seemingly false structures, frameworks for a creation that lacks true shape or form. What we mean by this is that those actions that come from a place of trying to control or forecast or to desire a certain outcome or to hold on to an expectation are perhaps helpful in the moment. However, they ultimately keep the self from truly setting within this illusion, within the moment. These false or flimsy structures you create can limit your view. And by limit your view, we mean narrow the entity's ability to fully grasp and take in that which the creation has to offer. And that is what we feel we wish to impart upon you as a forgetting of innocence. You must see that innocence is at the core of every element of this creation, just as love is at the core and the energy and motivation for all that surrounds you. Innocence is inherent and foundational, and every single entity has within it innocence. It's naturally innocent. It is when the entity forgets its ability to channel that innocence, when the entity begins to try to impose and accepts less and less, that the entity forgets its innocence. It's then that the entity looks upon the playground of this creation and sees merely pieces of construction, a plaything that's not of importance to explore, not worthy of time or energy spent in experiencing it. Again, this forgetting of innocence is not a bad thing. All experiences lead to opportunities for growth and learning. To forget innocence can provide the entity the opportunity to relearn innocence, to be all facets, to know both non-acceptance and acceptance. We feel that this time on your planet is felt as, we correct this instrument, we understand that this time on this planet has felt to those entities upon it to be very intense, and perhaps without innocence. We would like to remind those entities that there's always a wealth of innocence underneath the judgment and the labels. The identities we place upon one another and everything around you. We just merely need to peel away the constructs you use to create distances between you and the creation. We suggest to those entities that wish to remember or foster innocence to dust off that shovel, to clear away the, as you would call it, the baggage that you let accumulate in your life that keeps you from fully experiencing the creation around you. We understand that this is not always easy work, that identity is at times the most important aspect to an entity's experience. We are not asking that you completely remove or forget that element of your experience forever. We simply ask or suggest that you remind yourself of the child witnessing the bubbles and view the paradise around you that once had names and structures and routine, and see it with new eyes. See it with an open heart, where both the emotions that are tied to separation and allow the beauty, potent paradise that surrounds you to move within. Let it soak into your soul and enter the heart, and in those moments, witness how you feel. And that witnessing, that sensation, that brightness and lightening of the experience the self may have on this planet. That is when you have remembered your innocence. At this time, we will take our leave of this instrument and transfer our contact. We are those of QO.